Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So when you hear in different kinds of traditions, especially from India, that the idea is that we would not have preferences, what we can usefully take that to mean is that we no longer are rejecting various circumstances or running toward various circumstances out of some maniacal search for pleasure or fulfillment. And that instead we are enjoying every circumstance and responding to it with spontaneity and just being in every circumstance as it arises fresh and new without pushing anything away or pulling anything toward us because we feel a compulsion to gain pleasure or comfort, and we feel a compulsion to reject anything that interrupts our story about how our life should be. So when people say we shouldn't have any preferences, sometimes that gets misinterpreted to mean we shouldn't make any choices or we shouldn't have any discernment even about circumstance. Certainly as we wake up more, we get more and more discernment. And the way that we operate with discernment in a more awake way is that we are choosing things that are using our energy in ways that support what our heart most deeply desires. We're using our activity to support the process of waking up and to help other people and help ourselves. And we're making, as we go along, more and more skillful choices about how we use our energy, completely based on practicality or on spontaneous wisdom, but not based on compulsion. And that's really the difference. So we're going to become more discerning, not less discerning. But as we lose more of our karmic conditioning, then our decisions and our insights and our discernments really become just very, very practical or simply a spontaneous response to the wisdom of a situation where we're not even having to think about it very much. But that might be further along the way for a lot of you. But in the meantime, understand that you should decide how you want to use your energy, decide what kind of relationships you want to be in, based on what supports your practice, what supports things you find of most value in life, what supports your deepest convictions. We should go toward those things and away from a compulsive pleasure seeking or fulfillment seeking. When we have self-understanding in an ordinary way about what our lives are about, then we can make those kind of skillful decisions. And we have to understand that those will entail both gains and losses in an ordinary way, right? Both gains and losses, the decisions that we make. But as long as we are doing our best to support our practice and really have ourselves develop into the loving, compassionate people that we want to be, then any choice that we make, even if it's unskillful, is still going to be fine because we don't always have perfect discernment, right? Let's take the biggest view first, which is that everything is made of wisdom and by wisdom. So everything is just that. And so every circumstance is useful if we relate to it in a certain way. It's not inherently useful. It's just useful in this game we're playing of forgetting and remembering. So imagine that you're traversing some sort of game app and you're trying to figure out what the most skillful way of relating to this thing that's just popped up in front of you. And of course, the most skillful way to relate to anything is how can I relax in this situation? How can I use my practice to relax in a situation and try to feel the wisdom in it or feel the wisdom coming from the heart, feel those promptings, and trying to move according to my best connection to that wisdom. That feeling of this way is the right way, this way isn't the right way right now. Or I should eat this donut or I shouldn't eat this donut. Whatever it is, it has to be a feeling. It has to be the feeling of wisdom that is guiding you. And it's an inner knowing or an outer message, whatever you want to call it, it's all coming from the same source. And we're trying to connect to that. And if you can't connect to that for whatever reason, because most people kind of go in and out of connecting with that, or we get into circumstances where we're just too anxious to connect with much of anything, then try to think about your life and what is going to be most supportive of what you care about most in any circumstance. You'll feel the feeling of fixation too. We can feel fixation and we can feel wisdom. Fixation has a chugging kind of an engine-like repetitive quality. Right? It's rough and it repeats and it has this kind of certain kind of momentum. And then when we feel that clarity, that inner clarity or that inner upsurge of wisdom, where we just feel the circumstance and we immediately recognize the wisdom in the circumstance, there's a sense of freshness, a sense of home, a sense of relaxation, and knowing that something is the right way for you. So we're trying to cultivate more and more contact with, I call that inner divination, right? But it's really just getting in touch with wisdom. We try to cultivate that more and more and try to cultivate going along with fixation less and less. And this, the idea that you would bemoan, oh God, I'm still doing this, is like, really? Join the club. You're going to have compulsions and fixations, aka karmas, for the rest of this incarnation. So just relax. Some will go away, some won't. Some will lessen, some won't. But if you do sadhana every day and you're trying to be in a state of guru yoga, trying to connect with wisdom, trying to be in that feeling of presence as much as you can, everything is going to happen as quickly as it possibly could. It's just that is going to be different for every person. And you have no control over anything other than how you use your time. You have no control over how quickly or slowly those compulsions that you're noticing go away. And it is absolutely true that, especially the first years that you're doing practice, so much that you didn't actually recognize as compulsive habit patterning becomes visible to you. And you can feel overwhelmed and like, oh my God, is there anything I'm doing that's not contrived? And for some of us, the answer is very little. And that's just the answer, right? This is what is called making friends with yourself. When you see these things, but you still feel friendly toward yourself because you're just a person. You're just a person. And this is how it is. This is how you were made. This is how it goes. You're in an infinite mandala of wisdom. You aren't in control of everything, but you can be friendly toward yourself. Recognize the reality of your situation. You're just a person with an infinite circumstance. You're never going to understand all that. You have some tensions and some limitations, and they're going to go when they go. But the beauty is that you've been given tools to help to unwind those. And you just use those tools, and that is the very best you can do. You really cannot do more than that. It's the opposite of going to a life coach, right? Well, the life coach tells you, we're going to plan everything out, and then this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. We're going to have a timeline. We're going to have, measurables and deliverables and blah, blah, blah. It's the opposite of that. I can't tell you when anything's going to happen. There are no deliverables. Except that you're going to slowly over time find more and more of a feeling of deep relaxation of body, energy, and mind, more clarity, more enjoyment, more skill, more open-heartedness. That's just going to happen naturally, slowly over time. That's the only thing I can tell you for sure. And the oceanic quality of it is one of the best things about it from my perspective. From my perspective, the fact that we don't know is makes it more fun.